quality trained security officers and virtual officers.
Welcome to the Titan Protection Show. I am Ryan Smith here with Aaron Black, our HR manager, and today we are talking about what to expect with a security officer interview. And Aaron, I know you have interviewed thousands upon thousands
literally,
of
yeah,
security candidates. I would say probably in a year you interview thousands. But this video, I'm wanting to kind of gear it towards folks that may be interested in getting into security, or maybe they're preparing for a security interview as an officer. Let's assume that we've already gotten past the application point. There's not anything in the background that would prevent somebody from getting a license. There's reliable transportation, whether that be the bus, your own car, however you can get to and from work.
right.
So let's start with the basics. What do you expect out of attire, appearance, that kind of thing when somebody's coming in? Do they need to be in a suit and tie, flip-flops and shorts? What are you looking for as far as appearance and attire?
No, absolutely. I'm very lenient on dress, just for the simple fact that all of our officers get outfitted with our uniforms, so we're going to give you what we need you to wear. If someone comes in with a tank top and flip-flops, I'm going to say, in my mind, this candidate may not take this as serious as I would like them to.
Right.
So that would be a minor flag. But if you're wearing jeans, a t-shirt, tennis shoes, you comb your hair, you have basic hygiene stuff handled, that's about all I need as far as attire goes.
Sure.
I would say before you even get to the interview, though, I'm going to look for timeliness, because the best ability is reliability, and you being on time is one of the key factors that plays into that.
Right.
And so if you're on time, or if you're running late, and you at least call and give me a heads up so I'm not sitting there waiting. That's just common courtesy for any interview. So those two things, being on time and being decent and presentable, are the two very first steps of the interview process.
And I would agree. I think, we're looking at that from a what can we expect from you as we put you on a post, right? Body odor, clean, combed hair, those
Correct.
types of things, and being presentable. And then the communication aspect of, there's all sorts of things that happen. If you're going to be late, if you can't make it, not showing up and not communicating is a tough or a red flag, because then we're looking at it going, well, how would this happen if you've got a shift to be to?
Absolutely.
But if you're late, if you need to reschedule, communicating and getting ahead of it is one thing.
Oh yeah, some of our best, most successful employees had to reschedule once or twice, or they called and said, "Hey, I'm going to run late. There's traffic. There's lane closures." So that's not an issue. Just communicating that is the biggest skill I'm looking for in those scenarios.
And so they show up, they're presentable. What are the types of questions that you would ask a candidate, and what are some of the answers that you're looking for out of those questions?
The first question I ask is their flexibility to work different shifts, different schedules, days, times, mornings, evenings, overnights. I'm not expecting everyone to be open 24/7. We all have lives outside of our profession. But that will give me the starting point on possibilities as far as locations of where they're going to work day to day. If someone comes in, they're only available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, well, that limits our clients as to where they can be placed. And
Right.
so that'll be something we have to work through. But I just want to know your availability to be scheduled to work. I am going to ask, a pay range that you're comfortable with, that suits you and is doable for us just starting out in security.
Right. And that's to place them within, or for you to kind of see out of your available options, where might they fit in, or are you interviewing people specifically for this post, this time frame?
Oh, no. So there are special clients that require X amount of security experience or X amount of history in this kind of workforce. Those are one-offs, but for the majority of interviews I do, my goal is to match the candidate that's interviewing with the best spot for him that we have available.
Right.
And we have multiple spots open. I mean, we're all throughout the metro area. People are coming, people are going. We're getting new clients, and so there's always different options every week,
Right.
as far as where you can go. So my goal for the whole interview is to make sure they have, they're a good fit for the company, but I want to make sure we're a good fit for them and get them in the right spot to be successful.
Right. And that piece of communication and honesty comes in, because a lot of times you'll get, and I know I've heard it, where people say they have open availability, then you get a month in and they're saying, well, I can't work weekends, I can't work. And so, just kind of communicating what you can and can't do is important, and kind of sticking to that and being realistic, because we can work within different parameters.
Absolutely.
Like you said, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, those posts exist, but that can be a challenge if that's all you've got to offer looking for a security job.
Right. And on the flip side of that, some people can only work evenings or overnights.
Right.
And I have to work with them. Hey, our training is during the day, during the weekdays. So we're going to need you to be a little bit flexible to get in here for that. Just like they would need to be flexible for us if they're really wanting a serious spot in a long-term position.
Sure. So appearance, availability, what comes next? What kind of questions do you throw out during the interview?
Some of our locations are all day, every day, client-faced, customer-faced. You're dealing with the public. So I want to get a feel for, is this person, I don't want to say personable, but maybe okay always seeing people,
Right.
5, 10 people every minute.
Right.
Are they going to be in that kind of work environment and happy, or are they more of a, let me work overnight at a library where I'm watching cameras, doing rounds, reporting on things that are
Right.
broken, stolen, missing. So there are two different kinds of I would say, personality I want to separate that interviewee into.
Okay.
I will ask how they deal with adversity. And so, if you're in security, I've never had to physically touch anyone.
Right.
I've always been able to use my words to deal with the situation.
Right.
And we do all that training during orientation. But if, someone is very shy, timid, doesn't want to speak up, doesn't want to deal with an angry customer or a disgruntled employee, that's fine. That could happen anywhere, though. I can't
Right.
guarantee it won't happen. Even if we place you at some spot that's overnight that no one's there, anything can happen anywhere.
Right.
But my goal is to get you in the right spot for your personality, your temperament, and match you up with something that you're going to be happy with long term.
Sure.
I also ask situational based questions. We do have some higher end positions that you can start out as if you're had life experiences that put you in the frame of mind to deal with those kind of situations.
Right.
How would you deal with someone that's drunk waving a sword in the middle of the street?
Right.
Do you know how you would deal with you pull up on a car and the windows are tinted and there's 4 people inside and they're being loud and making a ruckus? What are you going to do? So we kind of want to get a baseline of, hey, I have the appropriate life experience that'll guide me to the safest resolution of this problem. And in those cases, we can get them into higher positions right off the bat.
Right.
Most of our officers start entry level. I did myself.
Right.
And we learn and grow from there.
So experience necessarily isn't a requirement. I mean, if you come and you say, I've never worked security before in my life, is that a is that a negative? Is that, how does that get you?
I've always looked at that as great. That means you have no bad habits from other companies that
Right.
you're going to bring over. We can start you with a clean slate. We can teach you everything the way we want it taught to you. So most of our employees currently never been in security prior to starting with us.
Right.
Fast food, warehouses, automotive shops, really what I need is someone that's willing to learn, that has a good attitude, and we'll do the rest
Right.
from there.
Give them the
And
tools.
so, the interview mainly is to make sure that you will, as a candidate, be a good person to put out in the public as a reflection of Titan, that you're going to be providing customer service and that you're not going to be unreliable. I would
Right.
say. Those are the key
Reliability.
things I get in the interview. Also, I would say if anyone is too, TV shows, movies, they kind of peg security in a light of Paul Blart. I'm going
Right.
to chase, tackle, and arrest everyone that's jaywalking.
Right.
That's not the case. That's our last resort. We do have a full use of force continuum, just like police departments use, and that's what we train. So I don't want someone that's too motivated to touch people.
Right. Too
Or-
gung-ho and
Yeah.
too aggressive.
Using the authority, hey, I have the badge, I'm the boss. Well, yes, but that's not how we'd want to talk to someone that's in a stressful situation mentally. So,
How are
those
we providing customer service and communication and de-escalation and those types of things?
Absolutely.
And that's too, if you're asking those questions about, how would you handle a certain situation, if somebody says, I don't know because I've never done this before, we can work with that, give them training. If we have somebody that has worked before and has some experience, what we're looking for is how are they going to de-escalate a situation, make good decisions, that type of thing, to figure out where they kind of fit within
Absolutely.
what we have available.
And I've worked for 5, 6, 7 security companies,
Right.
and I can kind of compare the training I got there, which at sometimes were non-existent,
Right.
to the training here. And even if you're coming from a different security company, and I present a situation or a question to you, and you answer it according to their guidelines, it may not
Right.
be correct, but that's fine. We can retrain you. We
Sure.
can reteach you the best path and the best practices to deal with situations in a uniform.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I started the company was it seems to be there was a real lack of training in security. And when you
Absolutely.
don't equip people with tools to handle what they may encounter, they revert to what they think or what they know. And so we've seen that before, and that's where I think you can either do too little or too much in those scenarios. And that's the whole key, is how do you balance it to figure out, what to do and how to do all that. Can you think of any, aside from the standard red flags or anything that has stood out in all of your interviews, as far as any that were terribly bad or terribly good, where people were like, that was a really good answer to that question, or that was a really bad answer to that question?
Well, even aside from questions, sometimes when the interview's finished, I always give the candidate an opportunity to ask their own questions.
Right.
Hey, is there any clarification you need on the process for onboarding, for training, what to expect in the first few weeks, questions you have about the company, your position? And if they have 0 questions, either I did a great job explaining it or they're not really interested.
Right.
Which is fine. This is not for everyone, so that's the whole purpose of the interview. When someone says, I just need a job,
Right.
that's probably, it's not a wrong answer. It just shows me that you may not be as successful as you could be in this role if you were more motivated to actually open up and learn.
I've had that. I remember that when I was doing the interviews, people would sometimes say, well, I'm just looking for a job where I can watch TV or do my homework or something like that. And that's a really tough, answer to say I'm just looking for. But kind of along those same lines of red flags of like, do you really want this job? Is this something, or is it just getting you by?
They are
kind of
honest.
thing?
They are honest, though.
Right. And much rather that than the opposite of,
I guess the where that stems from is a lot of the companies I did work for, you can do that.
Right.
You sit there, hey, just be here.
Right.
If something happens, call someone. Here, we're a lot more proactive. We like to be visible. We're a deterrent to everyone that's in the area.
Right.
And so, we can't have that kind of security gig on the line where you can just play on your phone or watch movies or play on the
And
computer.
those things exist. I would say our training and our pay and those types of things tend to be higher, but so do expectations and, what we put into. We kind of think of ourselves as a higher quality company, but, trying to keep this generally and there's all sorts of different types of companies and all sorts of different types of posts where, all of these things kind of exist. But wrapping it up, I kind of hear, from the beginning, availability, honesty and communication and those types of things. Appearance has some weight in it, but it's not necessarily, don't show up. You don't have to show up in a suit or a tuxedo.
No.
Just look like you've combed your hair, taken a shower, made an effort, those types of things.
just a
Don't show
minimal
up
effort.
like Lebowski coming into the interview caring. But so, and then beyond that, we're looking at some situational questions. How would you handle certain situations, and where do you fit in the spectrum of experience, type of posts, availability? So you're kind of working the puzzle as you're talking to everybody, figuring out, okay, how could this person fit in?
Right.
Where would they be, type of thing. And so I think it's pretty common in security as well that you may work a job, you may work a couple different posts beginning to kind of find the right fit for everybody, from location, how far are you driving, what type of post, what hours, and then you kind of find your home.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Is that typical path for?
Normally, I let any incoming candidate know, hey, the best route may be for you to be a flex officer, move around a couple weeks, figure out the locations you like, what's going to fit you long-term permanently, and then let us know. We're very flexible from scheduling standpoints, and we will put you at the place that you want to be if we have it open. That just makes sense to make the two happen. Right. And an overall takeaway from an interview perspective is not only am I looking at the candidate trying to make sure they're going to be a good fit for Titan, but they need to look at us to make sure we're a good fit for them.
Right.
And so I do probably half the talk in an interview. I want to explain things, expectations, what to expect as far as the whole process from when we leave the interview to starting your first shift, all the training involved. And I want to make sure that we're a good fit for them too. So I encourage every candidate I meet to ask questions, to clarify anything they're uncertain of. And I've even told people, hey, why don't you go to that interview you have with security company 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And I'll talk with you next week when you decided that Titan's a better fit, because I've been there and I know kind of the other side of the coin. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, awesome. And what kind of question do they get? One, and I don't know, I could be honest with you, I haven't had that question asked a lot, but I wondered, is being security officer safe? And I've thought about that as a secondary video of that's a whole different realm of, it depends on a lot of things, where you're working, how anything can happen at any point. You could, we've dealt with all sorts of things, but does that come up much?
If it does, I kind of always give an umbrella response, and I rely on the training team, since they're with them for days on end, to kind of answer that suitable for the person asking the question, because every person kind of wants a different, needs a different understanding of that question. Right. I've always said, I personally, again, never had to touch anyone. I've never been in a physical altercation. We always use our words first. Right. But anything can happen anywhere. I cannot guarantee anything. But that's the same as if you're working at the drive-through.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, what's the definition of safe? Is it safe to drive a car? Is it, that's a rabbit hole of a whole different, but I agree. generally it's safe and anything can happen, but that may be a topic for a different video
That's a good topic,
longer.
Actually. Yeah.
It'd be a good one. Well, that's our take. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with you. If anybody's got any stories or any tips or tricks on interviews or anything you've learned over time in security, certainly appreciate any comments or responses, but appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys soon.
You got it. We're always hiring too, so if anybody's looking for a gig, we are hiring. But let us know what you think. Appreciate it again. Yep. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.